Hello and welcome to the Zoom Racing League Division 2 season finale here in Singapore. We're in for a great race tonight. We got some of the fastest drivers in this racing league on track. Great competitors, great drivers, and we're at a fantastic track. As it looks right now, we're going to have a wet qualifying, which is always fantastic. It always throws the order around. But let's take a look at the track. Obviously 3 sectors, 23 turns, 3.146 miles. We've got 3 DRS zones. Those 23 turns, there's a lot of room to make a mistake. You're really tight in there with the wall. And so if we take a good look at the constructor standings right now, you'll see McLaren is in the lead right now, ahead of Alfa Romeo by a good margin. They got 2 of the best drivers on the grid. And speaking of those drivers, Buffalo, what's the driver standing looking like?
And they're all bunched up at the top here on the Division 2 season finale. It's perfect here for Singapore. We got a challenging track, wet weather, top 5 separated by only about 28 points. So Ranger, Razor, Sid, Ethan Patel, and Pylon all in contention here for the championship on the final race. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's going to be amazing. And for Ranger today, the goal is to win. If he wins, nothing else matters. So Ranger's got to get the win. But so do all those other guys, those top 5. Everyone's out for the win today. It'll be a bloodbath. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, so Ethan Patel and Pylon, they're mathematically live. They need something crazy, right? They need like number 1, number 2, and then maybe Ranger with the DNF or something. You don't wish that on anyone, but rain in Singapore, man, anything can happen as they start to get out on their outlaps now. Kind of nervous, kind of curious to see what these times are going to end up look like. It's going to be crazy.
In the wet, I've been seeing in those practice sessions, people have been putting up 155s. But again, we don't know how wet it is out there right now. We're not in the driver's seat, so it could be a lot worse than those practice sessions have been. And I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen some 2-minute lap times.
Yeah, it could be that slow. I think one was that Ethan Patel out on inters. That's curious too. Everyone else out on wets. So we'll see if he can. I'm kind of on board with him here on his outlap to see if he can, get any sort of indication on the handling there with the inters, because he's the only one taking that risk right now.
And Snoop is already out of the session. And I guess that may tell us all we need to know in terms of how wet it is. Just lost it. But and we're on Raz. We're gonna be on Raz right now. I believe he's gonna be the first one to start a lap. But this is full qualifying, and so you don't have to. You're not going all out right now. You're just trying to beat those bottom 5 guys. As Raz he's not struggling, but he is losing the back end just a little bit right before he starts his lap. And these conditions are treacherous right now. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes things up.
Yeah, I don't know how those inters are going to hold up, and that's right. Appreciate you pointing that out. Full quali today for the season finale, so Snoop Francis better kind of buckle in. He's got a little bit of spectating ahead of him, but this will be tricky.
And tricky indeed. Raz, so far, I mean, he's been having to do a lot of correcting, but, he's kept it on track. No major mistakes just yet as Connor also retires. Those are double Mercedes out in Q1. Not what you want if you're Toto Rivas, not what you want if you're a Mercedes fan. But again, that just goes to show what the conditions are like right now.
Yeah, I'm sure Toto Rivas is watching closely too, right? In about a week or so, we have the draft for next season. So some of these guys, even if they're not in championship contention, they're going to be looking to put on a show because, they're trying to get picked higher here for next season. Some on the bridge between moving up to D1, some trying to stay in D1 and now move down in D3. So every part of this race weekend is going to be as Raz almost loses it there in that turn.
And Raz is as well invalidated. Zebra Strike just put up purple sector 1, but he's in a lot of traffic right now, and combine that with the treacherous conditions is not great for a hot lap. But yeah, it's tough out here.
I wouldn't be surprised if you just get a banker lap in, you may be pretty much in for a Q2 spot just based on what we've seen so far. Right,
And
2 minutes in and already 2 DNFs.
that was the case in our qualifying last night in the Division 3 race. And I know my teammate was one of those who, there was a couple retirees there early in the session, and they put in, a lap that they could have improved on as he goes purple in Sector 2 as well. So he's probably going to put it on provisional pole. But they could have improved on that lap, but knowing that, there was only really two spots at the bottom with those DNFs that they felt comfortable staying out. And that may be the case for a lot of these drivers here.
Yeah. This is interesting here. Yeah, so Prison Mike is on his lap as well, so he's not trying to hold up Zebra here, but it does look like Zebra has considerably more pace than Mike as they close up their first banker.
As Mr. Robot does go a 2-minute, and Zebra invalidates on that final turn. Prison Mike does go slightly below Dominion 3, and they're just putting boards one after another right now.
Oh, little bump there, Zebra in the back of Prison Mike. I think they're just trying to get out of the way, But I would look out for Zebra here as he comes in and goes out again, because he was looking like had more pace than Mike, and Mike's chilling in P2 right now.
And we're on with Ethan Patel right now. Curious to see what time he's putting up in those inters. And it's looking like a pretty good time as he goes 2 seconds faster.
Wow.
So the inters seem to be pretty good. In the rain, I can't tell. I'm not a weatherman, but the rain seems, it's not as heavy as I have seen. I have seen thunderstorms before, but it still does seem pretty wet. And the strategy call paid off for him right there.
Yeah, Ethan Patel just big brained the entire field there. I don't know if it's a combination of just raw skill that he's able to obtain the grip on the inters, or maybe he's seeing something that nobody else is. But wow, for a second he was 2 seconds ahead of Ranger before Razor put on that 157.7.
But as we see, Pylon, he went 157.1, 119, so 2/10 behind Ethan Patel, and he's on the wet. So it really does seem like the inters are the play for right now, and I'm curious to see if other drivers will follow suit and get in the box, change those tires.
Have to. Yeah, they have to. I was on with Brian Hackerman there. Looks like he may nicked his front wing. He was on a hot lap, and now he's turning into the pit. So I don't know if he's got damage. He did invalidate, but no surprise to see the McLarens 2-3, right? Their leading constructors just about got that all wrapped up. So no surprise there. Both in championship contention.
You mentioned whether that 157 from Ethan was raw skill or if it was the tires, and I think we may have got our answer as Cole is also on the inters, and he went about 10 seconds slower. So I'm sure he had a couple mistakes in there, but it'll be interesting to see which tire actually is the correct pick for right now.
Yeah, I'm on with him now, OG, and I wonder if he maybe fueled up for a couple runs here, because he's kind of going on another hot lap, fuel light not going off. So I'm wondering if he's trying to put in a couple quick ones in a row.
That wouldn't surprise me. Those 2 DNFs, there's only really 3 spots at the bottom that you're trying to get out of. And getting a little bit extra practice in, especially if there's a wet race, is never a bad idea. Speaking of that, do you have any updates on the potential race weather?
Yeah, so I do have indication that it is going to be a full wet race as well, as of now. So dynamic weather, of course, so that can kind of change on the fly, but these guys are qualifying in preparation for a full wet race.
Which would kind of explain, Cole going out in several runs, trying to get a feel for the tires, feel for the conditions throughout this qualifying session so he can prepare even more for that race.
Yeah, I really like that strategy on the wet. You know what I mean? Because it's not like as easy it is to kind of pick up and run a hot lap in dry conditions on any of these tracks like these guys can do so easily in D2, right? All these conditions, they're always fluid, right? Even within different tire categories, they're still changing. So I kind of like that strategy to go in there, and he's about to finish up his second hot lap here. I wonder if he'll improve on that 206. Yep.
He does by about 4 seconds. Still 5 seconds off of Ethan, but there was a lot of time to gain in that lap. And as we mentioned, he may be overfueled by quite a bit. As we watch Marino come to the line, fellow Division 3 driver, subbing in for the day. And he goes a 159 on wets. So about par of the course. Everyone's they're a little spaced out, but they're around there. You know, high 58s, low 59s, and you got those guys, those top 5 fighting for the championship for the most part, are all in the 157s.
Yeah. I'm on with Sid right now, who's on his first hot lap, just went purple sector 2, and he's looking at P3 in the Drivers' Championships right now. So a good performance here, and he's definitely in contention to take it home today.
Yeah, oh, and he hits in the tunnel section. You know, that right there is a lap killer. It's a race killer as well. Hitting that tunnel, especially in a race, you know, it can pile you up. You can lose a wing and a tire. So he's likely to be still in this session right now.
Yeah, but rough. Man, after a purple sector 2, you hate to see that. Commentator's curse.
Yep. And we're on with Raz again just for a split second. He's on another invalidated lap, so you just got to be frustrated. You're sliding around on those wet tires, and they're super frustrating.
I think kind of the idea of those banker laps too. You look at someone like Drip, who's sitting there with a 226, right? Certainly not as fast as he can go, even in the wet, but he's in P13 right now on a banker lap. And so currently, if Q1 ended right now, he'd be through. As Raz spins around, yeah, frustrating lap for him.
Exactly. Those banker laps, you know, normally like a really slow lap that you just manage to eke out won't do anything, but in these wet conditions, it's so easy for someone to just hit the wall, not finish their lap, invalidate. So many different things can go on. So just getting a lap on board can be beneficial, even if you can't improve it. So getting a lap should be the #1 goal for those bottom 3 drivers right now. Brian Hackman, Sid, and Raz. As while we were talking about
Zebra.
that, Zebra put it on provisional pole on 4-lap-old wets.
Wow. I'm really curious to see what Ethan Patel can now do in wets, because it looks like, with everyone else still on them, it looks like it was probably raw skill, maybe a little bit of luck that got him so low on inters. If wets are the best tire, man, what can he put up?
But I'm noticing a couple other drivers are switching to the inters right now. Brian Hackman, Josh Barnsley, Prison Mike, and Razor are all now switching to the inters. Just to test the waters, I assume. But we got 4 minutes left in this qualifying session, so you got 1 lap left, really. As Brian Hackman on those inters goes 156.3, so the inters are the tire to be on right now. The track, they've been driving on it for about 15 minutes now. There's a bit of a dry line, so the inters seem to be the play for right now. As Ranger, a little bit of a moment coming up to the final turn, he just dives into the pits after that.
Abandoning. Baz just trying to get a clean one in, just went purple sector 2.
Let's hope he can continue this coming into sector 3. And we mentioned this tunnel up here is a run killer, so it's imperative he gets it right.
Ooh.
Slides in there, avoids the wall, and after a great sector 2, he's just having a couple moments strung together in a row in this sector 3.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble on that exit.
and he goes P14 with a
Wow.
201. So he had a lot of time to gain there. Could definitely get under the 2 minutes, into the 150 nines is for sure. But just got to keep it on track. Got to keep it from sliding as much. Can't push as hard.
Like Razor's out on inters as well.
And we'll hop on board with him. We'll see what he can do on these inters.
As far as constructors go, it's really McLaren's to lose right now. But with the track conditions like this, city streets, it's so easy just to lose that, right? They got like a 12-point lead, 22-point lead. Sorry, math is hard. And as long as they can maybe keep at least one driver ahead of the Alphas and run a clean race, then they may have it wrapped up. But they're going to want to get as far up there in qualifying as they can. I'm curious what Razor's got a good hot lap going so far.
Yeah, it does feel like theirs to lose. They have two of the best drivers in Division 2 right now. Both are competing for the Drivers' Championship, and they're both graduating onto Division 1 next season. As he puts it, P2. So the inters are the move. But it does feel like theirs to lose. But as you mentioned, it's a wet race. We're not necessarily a super tight box, but the walls are relatively close. It's dangerous to pass. It's dangerous to race here. So anything can happen. It's so easy to lose a couple guys. I understand Division 3 is not the cream of the crop in terms of racecraft and driving skill, but we still did lose some really good drivers last night due to those conditions, and we were in the dry, and so the wet throws a whole different curveball at you, and it'll be interesting to see how things turn out in that race.
Yeah, it really does. Sid just put up a very respectable P7 with a 157.9. So he got his clean one in.
A couple of drivers just strung together lap about five drivers in a row, just one after another, and that'll be it. Drivers out on track have one more lap to try to get something, but everyone in the pits, they're over. So Brian Hackman easily saved Zebra Strike. So all those guys in the top 5, 6, 7, 8, they're pretty safe. I would assume. Drip is out, Mr. Robot out. But yeah, we'll see how things turn out in a couple minutes.
Well, so with the field of 18, right, is it the top 15 are through, or is it a smaller number, like 13?
I'm curious. I would assume to keep things consistent, they act as if there was 20 drivers still there. That way in Q2, it's, you got the top 10 drivers, or in Q3, it'll end up in the top 10 drivers. That's what I would assume would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm not 100% sure, so we will see how that turns out as well. If a couple guys that shouldn't necessarily be blipped get blipped.
So I think if that's the case, then Drip would be in. It would look like Mr. Robot's going to be the only one of the runners that doesn't make it, but just stresses the importance of getting a couple clean banker laps for these guys in, because it really didn't have to beat too many drivers to make it to Q2.
Yep. This Ranger goes 155 on that final lap on 5-lap-old wets, and he's your driver championship leader right now. He put it P1 and Q1.
Yeah.
On old tires, so super impressive from him.
That's why he's up there, right? Technically in contention for the constructors. He's had kind of a musical chairs situation with teammates going on, so a lot of those points are are his, right? I wonder, he could, you never know what's going to happen here, right? It's possible he could pull out double championship almost by himself tonight as we have Marino subbing in a D3 reserve.
Yeah, Herculean effort it would be from Ranger to get both the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors, but, on any given Sunday is the saying, so we will see what he can do. I'm excited to watch. He's shown in this qualifying, at least in this first qualifying session, that he has the skills to pay the bills. What was that, like 0.6 ahead of the next guy who's also extremely fast. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. So there you are. In Q1, Ranger P1, Brian Hackman P2, Razor P3. People out of the next session will be Drip, Snoop Francis, and Connor. So Raz just barely at the last second got into those 159s like I said he could, and Drip unfortunately got kicked out there. But there you have it. Only 3 drivers kicked out. We didn't have a full field. A couple of drivers couldn't make it all the way to Singapore, passport issues, all kinds of issues going on. I don't know exactly what it was, but here we are, top 15 drivers in Q2, still soaking wet out there. So, and I'm curious.
Yeah, clutch performance by Mr. Robot there at the end to nick it. I was the opposite of a commentator's curse, talking about him down there, and then he goes and puts a P10, and he's good to go.
Yeah, and you just like right at the end, he's got ice in his veins. But I am curious to see how these qualifying sessions work. As if so like in normal qualifying, the track gets more rubbered in, and the track gets faster. But with rain, you're taking, I don't know how long the break is. I'm assuming they're taking like a 10-20 minute break, or maybe not that long, but 5-10 minute break between the next before they start the next run. And I'm wondering if that rain piles back on and they lose all track evolution going into that. I just have no idea if we'll start to see times that are slower than what they were at the start or at the end of last session.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure how the game is going to handle situations like that. Right, I see one on inters, right? Is that Hackman over in the Ferrari? Most everybody else out on wet that I can see?
Hackman is on inters. I believe Alex is also on the inters. So
a couple more in the field, yeah. Man, these guys got out quick. They're trying to put some laps together early in this session, looks like.
Yeah, it seems to be about the same level of rain, but there do seem to be a lot more wet spots, at least compared to the end. So we might see a little bit more aquaplaning here at the start. But I don't know. I'm really curious to see how this works out.
Yeah, I'm on, but Alex looks like he was the first out there, so he'll get going to his hot lap here in a bit.
As Snoop, he retired pretty early in that last session, has left the session. I'm sure he'll be back. But I am getting reports of those 2 drivers that were missing, that they didn't get their COVID-19 shots, which is a requirement to enter Singapore. But
well, that'll hold them up.
Yep. As Alex starts his first hot lap, Alex starts the hot lap for everybody else as well, but people follow suit. I believe that's Pylon right behind him.
Looks like Brian Hackman went and dived right back into the pits. I wonder if he got damaged, or he's just looking for a tire change, or
maybe wasn't feeling the inters just yet anyway.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, what would you do in this strategy, OJ? Would you go out in wets first to put something in and get something on the board, or will you try to use the early time to get inters, right? I mean, we're missing some of the intel, right? We can't tell if it's going to rain harder or lighter earlier in the session as opposed to later. But curious what you'd go out on first.
So I would look at the board. I'd let a couple people go out on their first couple laps, and I'd see what the fast drivers are doing. So you notice Pylon's on wets, Razor's on wets. Ethan Patel, he's on the inters, but he's not a stranger to like bolder strategy calls. So I'm looking at those top 5 guys in the standings. I'm going to see what tire they're running, and then I'm going to try to move to that. And if I don't like it, then I switch it up. But I'm sticking to what the fast guys are doing.
Yep, and they're all on wets. Now that you bring that up, all the top 5 in the Drivers' Championships, all on wet tires to start Q2.
And Pylon closing in on Alex, even though they're both on a hot lap. And Alex just gets out of the way right there. So Pylon will be the first one to put a time on the board. Of course, last session it was a 155 something, and he goes 157. So that's about what Ethan put up on his. Razor goes 157 flat, basically.
Yeah, could be track conditions, right? You brought up the rubbering of the track, as later in the session we saw some quicker times. I did just get a weather update from Toto Rivas as well. So for Q2, we're essentially expecting full rain throughout the duration of the entire session. So like Prison Mike putting on a 157 on inters, I mean, that's incredibly skillful to be able to put that quick of times on tires that the game is telling you is not optimal for these conditions.
And that just goes to show the level of talent they have in Division 2. He joined a little bit late, but he's not in that top 5, like fighting for those top 5 in the championship, but he's just as capable. All these guys are just so fast, and it's really impressive to watch.
Yeah, you see the top 4 there. I mean, look, Alpha's trying to make something of it for constructors, right? They heard us talking about how McLaren might have it all wrapped up, but here they are, 3-4, looking for something crazy to happen.
Right behind those McLaren boys.
Dominion has looked pretty solid here in the wet as well, 158.8. And he had a really solid performance in Q1 as well, currently through.
And he's been, as Ranger goes 156.8, just flying out there. And mentioned Dominion, he's been putting in a lot of hours this week in practice sessions throughout the week. And he's, I don't know his exact setup, but he's no stranger to wonky setups either. So I'm curious to know if, those stranger setup calls that he likes to make are helping him out in the rain today.
Yeah, it is. That practice is certainly paying off, and especially on a track where some crazy things can happen, he can be looking at a really, really respectable finish this weekend.
And he's currently fighting for his seat in Division 2, so he's putting it all on the line tonight. This is his ticket. He's here to show that he belongs, that he should stay, and I'm excited. I hope he does. I hope he pulls it off.
OG, I might want to throw it over to our on-track reporter. I see Toto Rivas just entered the chat. Toto, what's going on?
Yes, I wanted to stop by. We're planning a protest. We were promised no wet weather, and this is the wrong exit. God, I never get it right. Now, we just wanted to touch base with you guys and let you know a lot of our drivers over in the Mercedes garage and the Mercedes HPP, we weren't really expecting this wet weather. And so we saw some people filing some complaints and protests, and unfortunately, we can't control the weather. So best thing these drivers can do is just try to make their way through it, and it's not going to be fun. Last night we had a lot of accidents, a lot of guys hitting the wall and stuff, and so it's going to be tiptoes around here for the rest of the night. So Mercedes, we feel good about where we're at. Our drivers have time to warm up, to concentrate on what's going to come after the qualifying session, and I see a strong finish for the Mercedes guys tonight.
And I noticed that Snoop had left the session. Was he just leaving the paddock to go get some extra practice out there in the wet weather before he rejoins for the race?
Yeah, we're just going to go do a little sim practice. He's going to warm up, get him some hot cocoa, and kind of refocus before the race starts.
Well, sounds good, Toto Rivas. Yeah, the wet weather is brutal. You mentioned in that Division 3 race, the Mercedes Superstar in Division 3 crashed out in qualifying, and that wasn't even with the wet weather. I can't speak right now, but these conditions are treacherous, and we wish the best towards Mercedes tonight.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Have a good broadcast.
Thanks, Toto.
So that's interesting that they left the session to go practice on the simulator.
Yeah, interesting thing to do that. I'm not sure if I've seen that before, right? To kind of leave mid-session to go on the sim, but they're trying to make the case to be drafted by Toto Rivas next year and finish up the season strong.
No doubt about that, but I'm just curious about the legality of it all. Are they allowed to bring the simulator to Singapore, or are they? I just don't understand. I just don't understand. I mean, I'm sure it's legal. He is Toto Rivas. He knows the rules, but as Sid is retired from the session, we mentioned the Alfa Romeo earlier, and he is out.
Yeah, looks like it happened while we were chatting with Toto. He's got an outside chance here to make it into the next round, but it would require a lot of ifs.
And also, while we were chatting with Toto Rivas, the track has dried up considerably. The top 8 are all on the intermediate tires, while the bottom 9 through 15 are on the wets.
Ethan Patel, another hot lap here, enters too, looking to improve upon his time. That's already P3 at 156.6.
And so you got 2 drivers who have yet to set a time so far, and that is Raz and Josh Barnsley. Raz, no stranger to that. He set a late time last session, and with 4 minutes to go, the clock is ticking. You got a couple laps left, 2 laps left. So it's time to go.
He'll have to pull in. He was struggling for grip there. Looks like he's already invalidated this lap. He'll have to pull in super quick and then get out on fresh tires to see if he can put together a good time.
As Mr. Robot has retired from the session, Ethan Patel is about to come up with him. As Ethan Patel also hits the wall. So it looked like Mr. Robot was out at the tunnel section. So that's 2 drivers out. Sid still, technically, I don't know how it operates if Sid is retired from the session, but he stays number 10 if he moves on to the next session.
Yeah, I think because his time is legal, we may have a Q3 with 9 drivers, but I'm not sure. Because he still put in that solid time, so if we don't get anything from Raz or Josh, and 11 through 13 don't improve, we may get a Q3 with 9?
Yeah, once again, we're in uncharted territory, at least for us too. So I don't know, as Pylon goes 156.3, and yeah, so the end of this session is pretty fast. They're going pretty fast right now. As Raz is diving into the pits, or he's coming out of the pits.
Coming out on inters, 213, so he's got to have like 2 clean ones in a row because he needs to get to the line. While of course letting people through. This might be tricky.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're gonna have to have like a push lap to try to get to the line, especially in these conditions. But you can't. We said it in the first session. You can't push too hard. One, you don't want to heat up your tires. 2, it's easy to lose. So.
Yeah, I think in his position, he's not really going to have another choice. Razor just fast as again, 156.3. There are the McLarens.
And we're going to see what Ranger's going to do if he can try to topple the McLarens here. Ranger goes P1. So they're just fighting hard,
Wow.
but he gaps him by about a second. Ranger's on another level right now. So it's
It's
incredible.
this whole qualifying session has been just a slugfest, right? One person fastest the other, and they're just going back and forth, beating each other. It's been crazy.
It's been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome to watch. And I think it'll be a battle uh, for pole coming up. I know Ranger has been dominating, but I don't think Razor Pylon have quite showed their hand yet. And I've seen them put up 150, 155s in the wet, and so I think Q3 will be a hell of a shootout.
Yeah.
And we're getting intel as well that um, if no one jumps in to that Sid's position, that there will be 9 in Q3.
Okay. Raz is going to cross the line with enough time to start another hot lap, so we hope he can get one good in.
Yeah, 15 seconds to spare, but he hasn't been a stranger to invalidation so far. I think he's invalidated 4 total laps in 2 sessions, and this one
Right.
has to be clean, but it also has to be quick, as he's just lost it just a tiny bit coming out of that. I think that's the turn 3, and this one right here, you got to carry a lot of speed in, but you can't hit the wall. Doesn't hit the wall, doesn't get as much speed as I think he could have gotten, but doesn't have a time on the board. Got to get his goal right now is 157.3.
And what do you think's going? I mean, you have to be so careful from the throttle, in this wet weather with the corners, as it looks like Zebra just retired.
And I hope that
right
didn't.
Behind Raz.
I hope that doesn't impact his admission into the next session. But I really don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen, what the Stewards are going to do, what the FIA is going to do.
I think because if he retired with car damage, then I think he is out of Q3, if I'm not mistaken. So we may now have an 8-driver Q3. Although Raz just went purple sector 2.
So there we go. Raz, mentioned it last time, he has ice in his veins. Can he pull through in this final sector? This is the important one. And he's skating by a little bit of sliding here and there. Tunnel section, this is where it gets hard. Does it much better this time than he did last session, but
very good.
Once again, he's just sliding everywhere.
Oh!
A little too early on the throttle. He needed to get into that 157s, and he was just pushing that final sector. Frustration coming out from him right now, but...
Oh, that's such a dagger. Oh, dude, I thought he had the pace. I thought he did.
Yep, that one
so...
was coming down to the wire.
Man, what a shame. So look, I don't know if we have anyone else. That'll be it.
So that's it. Ranger, once again, I believe it was Ranger. I don't think anyone pipped it off him at the end. Yeah, Ranger, once again, P1 in this qualifying session. So your Q2 top 3 is Ranger, Zebra Strike, and Pylon. Those that are missing out going into Q3 is Sid, Marino, Mr. Robot, Alex, Raz, and Josh Barnsley.
Interesting. So what are they going to do with Zebra? Unless he retired maybe manually, but it looked like he was off track when he retired.
I'm assuming that it also was technically after the session, so I don't know if that has any impact on it as well. But I mean, it appears as if he's in the session for right now. We will see in a couple seconds, but he's been flying this qualifying session as well.
So with Sid locked in P10 for Alpha, Prison Mike is going to be pushing really hard to get towards the front of the field to try to give McLaren a fight for the constructors.
I mean, as we're still loading, I hope this doesn't affect anything, but I think it'll be a battle. I'm super excited, super excited. Now, Buffalo, do you have
What do you mean here?
any visuals on anything right now, or are we
I
both in
don't
the
I don't
dark?
have visuals here. We're waiting with bated breath. I got the chat open to see if I get any intelligence, but nothing so far. Oh,
I guess our camera
okay, I
crew
think
was
we're
just a
good.
little late to the scene. Maybe a coffee break or two. The session has just started. You know, no one's out on track just yet. 10 seconds into the session. And driver, we mentioned him in that last session. Driver that's doing great so far is Dominman. Again, I don't know if I'm supposed to say Dominman or Dominman, whichever one. Yeah, I mean, we're both gonna. They both work, but I mean, he qualified in Q3, and I don't think many people um, were rating him to get there. You know, a lot of people don't think the AlphaTauri's have what it takes in Division Two. I say differently. Of course, I am biased, but he's proven them wrong today.
I think you might be right. I mean, there's been chat about him joining us here at D3, but here he is now in Q3 in a D2 race in the rain and probably what the second most difficult track on the calendar, right?
Yeah,
Maybe right behind Monaco. I mean, this is a hell of a performance.
yeah, no doubt about that. And I feel like you could make an argument that this is the most difficult track because it's so long. It's you make a mistake, you've ruined a minute and a half worth of time.
Yeah,
So
and the thing is too, is Singapore there's overtaking, right? I mean, much more than Monaco, right? So even if you qualify well here, you still have to
you have to hold
defend
on.
significantly, right? You have what 3 DRS zones, right? Really, one is really realistic for passing, um, but I mean, much more opportunity than track like Monaco. So yeah, as far as holding on to your lead and the racecraft required to succeed here, could be more.
And yeah, there is chance for overtaking, um, but with that, especially in a street circuit, comes a lot of danger. You know, there's not as much runoff as there is in say like Jeddah, which is I guess technically a street circuit. This one, it's a little bit wider, but there's almost no runoff in a lot of areas, and so overtaking can become super dangerous. You touch a wheel, you touch a wall, there goes your wheel, there goes your wing, and so
Yeah, very
racecraft super
unforgiving.
important. Yeah, very very unforgiving.
Zebra's first down here. Let's take a look at the tire choices real quick. About 50, no, 3 drivers on wets.
Yeah, and Cole is stuck with the wets basically this entire uh, qualifying. Q1 and Q2. Even when other people were switching on, same with Dom. Other people were switching on to the inters. They felt that was the tire to be on. Those really, I think Zebra was on the inters, but those two especially were on the wets, and it's brought them this far. So they trust it. Might as well go after it one more time.
Looks like already yellow in sector 3. Zebra out of the session.
So, I mean, yeah, that's just, I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, so looks like if everyone else can get a lap in, he'll start P9. Interesting turn of events there for him.
And key word there is if. We saw him. He's a great driver. He didn't get a set. And as we say that, Brian Hackman is also retired from the session.
Wow.
And we'll see where he's at in a second. So, yeah, he has no front wing, no wheel right there at the start of Sector 2. And so, yeah, it's dangerous. The weather is atrocious right now.
It's been crazy out there. This racetrack has taken no prisoners. 2 already down in Q3 with 8 minutes remaining in the session.
Yeah, 8 minutes left. So a lot less time than those other sessions to get a lap in. So you got to really ride the edge between pushing it and getting a good lap in, because you don't got a lot of time to make up for it.
Yeah, disappointing for Zebra. He's in a little battle of his own. Best of the rest at 6th in championship right now belongs to Alex, but Zebra's behind him by 10 points, right? And then right on his back is
Ranger.
Mike.
I'm so sorry for interrupting you, but Ranger is spun out on the final turn of the lap. He was very lucky to keep it on track right there and not hit the wall and out of this session. But you know, that's one of the best drivers, not just in Division 2, but in the league, and he's struggling out there. So Dom goes 158.9, but wow, very, very, very treacherous conditions right now.
Yeah. Just stresses the impact of getting that one banker lap in, because right now Dom on provisional pole.
You're right about that 100%. Prison might come to the line. Just gets it from him by about a second. Goes 157.2, and that's what I think most of these guys will be running. This pylon goes 156.7, so 5/10 above that. Razor coming to the line goes 156.8. So those two McLaren, they really are, you know, cream of the crop, and it's incredible that they're both on the same team. Seems almost unfair.
Yeah, they are quick. I mean, it is, you know, it's essentially been their session here.
And because of the spin that Ranger experienced, it invalidated both that lap and this next lap. And so I'm curious to see, you know, he's put a lot of wear, and I'm wondering if he's gonna change tires, because you know sliding like that heats him up, that kind of ruins those tires just a bit. I'm curious to see what he's gonna do coming to the pits.
It does, and those flat marks too, like little marks in the tire, actually do show up in game. I've seen them in the pits where you have a little scuff mark here and there that are visible.
Well, yeah.
And they definitely affect the quality of the drive. So you almost, I don't know how many fresh sets of inters, but he has maybe going for fresh, but no, he went right by the pit box and he's gonna try another hot lap.
In 5 minutes to go in this final qualifying session, has Pylon on provisional pole, Razor right behind him on the front row by about a 1/10, and then 5/10 after that you got P3, Prison Mike, and then a second after that Dom, P4. And those are the only four that have set a time so far. We've gotten 2 people out of the session already, and 3 that have yet to set a lap. And if you're just now tuning in with us, hope you like the recap. If you do like the stream, please like and subscribe the video. Leave a comment if you can, it really helps. We got 21 viewers right now, which is phenomenal. And I'm just excited for the race. I'm excited that y'all can see the race. Me and Buffalo are gonna kill it. They're gonna kill it. It'll be awesome.
Well, you're going on too, OG Pylon killing it, racing himself now, just improved his pole time by like 7/10. So he's increased that gap to his teammate Razor, and the McLarens continue to dominate.
So yeah, they weren't showing their cards just yet. They got a lot of time. So yeah, if he's going 156.1, Razor he's competing right there. Ranger does set a purple sector too, but those top 3 right there, it'll be a battle for pole position.
Yeah, Ranger and Cole should finish their hot laps around the same time. We'll see how far up the grid they can get.
Is Cole coming to the line? Can he beat? He goes P4. Ranger right behind him goes provisional pole, and wow, that was
by more than 7/10.
Yeah,
that was a lap. And we just talked about how those inters may be suffering a little bit. He didn't show any of that.
No, not at all. He's right now he's in the zone. He's on a different level. Yeah, that's crazy. Prison Mike comes to the line again, trying to get in the top 3 once again, and he doesn't. It must have had a moment. It goes 5 seconds slower than he did last time.
Yeah, could have had a little correction or something.
As Ethan Patel, lucky to stay in the session, I hopped on board right as he rammed into a wall. I don't know how his tire is still on the car. He's hit the wall. He's playing, I don't know what, ping pong right now, but that was one after another.
front wing gone. I do not envy him trying to get this car back to the garage with no front wing in the pouring rain. And I don't know, that's going to be it for him. He's not going to have time to get back. Now, the one thing though, if he can get around this lap clean, he'll at least start 7.
Yeah.
So right, so
that's what he's got to do.
I hope he realizes that and doesn't pull into the pits for tires
Which is
or anything
hilarious
like
to think of.
that. Right?
You know, crawling across the line with 0 front wing. Just don't cut any corners.
Dom has invalidated, so he won't improve on his time for P6.
But Ranger has improved his provisional pole time by about, what is that, 3/10 from what it was?
Yeah. He's racing himself, Ranger. He's so good, he's just decides to race himself instead.
And Ethan Patel will come to the line. Can invalidate here. It's so easy to. Hope that doesn't count. It doesn't. He was out of bounds there for a second, but they didn't count it against him, so he will be P7, jumping those 2 that didn't finish the session. But
that was probably the most important 2-minute 10 lap he's run this season.
Yeah, no doubt about that at all. And it got really tense there at the end. I really didn't know if they were going to be able to do it, if the stewards were going to allow that lap to count, but they did.
Yeah.
And he got those 2 positions. Got a really gross camera angle right now on Cole. Got the front wing, but it's a little off center and kind of motion sickness inducing. So I'm gonna avoid jumping on that. We'll just stay on his normal TV pod cam for right now. But is that Ranger that's right behind him trying to improve yet again?
Might be. Improve again on his P1. Colson in P5 at 157.7. So we'll see if he can improve upon that and displace Prison Mike.
And Razor still has one final lap to get onto the front row. And we're going to see where Cole ends up. Cole improves by a second, goes to P3, and Ranger improves once again with someone holding him up. So he could have well been in the 154s, I have no doubt in my mind. But yeah,
he is going to be one to watch. I'm on here with Dom right now, and so far he's currently green. See if he can improve.
He does, but just marginally. Improves by a 10th.
Barely.
But Prison Mike. So those top 5 right now are in a world of their own. As
Just
Razor
listening on Rangers radio, he says he had a 154.
154, wow.
Yeah, sorry to jump in front of you, OG, but going in on Rangers radio, said he had a 154 in there if he wasn't held up by Cole. So yeah, he's going to be certainly one to watch here during this race.
And that is our qualifying session. Ranger puts it on pole in the Williams, Pylon right behind him in P2 to fill out the front row. Razor, Pylon's teammate in the McLaren, P3. Cole, P4. Prison Mike, P5. Dom, P6. Ethan Patel, P7. Zebra Strike and Brian Hackman, 8 and 9. And we mentioned Ranger. He's in the league of his own right now. But, starts are the equalizer, especially in the wet. It's so easy to lose it. And a person I think everyone should look out for here at the start is Daman Man. His starts are normally, he normally flies up through the field there at the very, very beginning. But again, he is normally doing that towards the back. So it'll be interesting how he compares towards this front 5.
The chatter on the McLaren radio, Pylon joking around that him and Razor told him to start P2. So I think we might see some teamwork here with McLaren, not only to shore up constructors, but also to give Razor as much of a shot as possible at taking down Ranger for the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, no, Razor and Pylon are two of the best teammates, best driver lineup I think you could have, especially in Division 2. And they have all kind of strategies, all kind of cool calls, and they pull them out in 5-lappers every once in a while. But um, I'm really excited to see what they can do strategy-wise to try to get um, the Goliath Ranger off of P1.
Yeah, I can't wait for the start here, right? I can't wait to see the strategy kind of going into turn 1 and to see what this is going to look like.
But you also got to keep in mind, all the strategy calls aside, Pylon and Razor are also fighting for the championship. Razor is ahead by quite the margin, so I'm assuming if given the opportunity, they'd pull a successful multi-21 and let Razor. But again, these guys are racers, and they want to win, so it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out. We're in for a great race tonight.
AWS tire strategy currently looking like full wets all the way through, so we'll probably see a one stop from most drivers, but that's barring any type of safety car, and you and I both know that. I mean, we had maybe 5 or 6 safety cars in the D3 race last night, and that was in the dry, so we may see a couple here tonight.
And I'm wondering, when the race is a full wet, as Raz has nicked the wall there, when the race is a full wet, you don't have to pit. And I'm wondering if 31 laps is quite a while, especially on such a long track. But I'm wondering if any of those guys, especially near the bottom 5, that try to sneak up into the top 10, elect to go to a no pit stop strategy. We saw it in Turkey with Esteban Ocon, and he he got into the top 10 with that. So I'm wondering if the same can be true here.
Yeah, Ocon, what was it, 63 laps on inters or something?
Yeah, something crazy.
That was crazy. Yeah.
And
I'm going to go out on a limb, though, and say that there will be a safety car, and it may be economical for most of these drivers
100%.
at these ones.
100%.
I wonder, too, the weather report may have shown a little bit of cloudiness and overcastness at the end of the race and some less rain, so we may see a dry tire strategy towards the end if the race kind of goes that long, right? Because safety car increases the duration, you push that timeline out. I guess it could be possible to see some unique strategies at the end.
I sure hope so. Driving on full wet Singapore races, it's so taxing mentally as well as physically. And I don't know. I especially hope so for the strategy as well. And just those different strategies they can out. Who's going to stay out on the inters to try to bring it home last couple laps? Who's going to stay out on dry? Who's going to switch to the dry and try to chase him down? I don't know, but
yeah,
I think it'll be interesting. As the drivers come to the grid, the front couple guys are already in their spots. The two in the back, the Mercedes in the back, Snoop and Connor coming to their spots. Getting their throttle ready, getting their foot on the clutch. Or I guess they have a button in these cars. Getting their finger on the clutch. You got 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 5 lights. And they're off. Drip gets a drive-through penalty. It's a rough start here for a lot of the drivers. But Ranger stays P1. Pylon's right behind him. Prison Mike goes up. Dom, I mentioned Dom starts. He's up into P4 right now. Prison Mike right behind him. But Pylon's going for a little move on Razor. He's going to go on the outside. Ranger has the inside line, so he stays ahead for right now. But Dom is up into P3. Razor's down to P5. Prison Mike P4. Zebra Strike up to P8. Dom up into P2 right now. They're battling with Pylon. And Pylon just ekes out the brakes. Pylon may have slight contact of VSC behind as Raz is very, very, very far back in the back. So VSC, early VSC, I think they experienced one in Division 3 because of me last race. And so it rings true today as well.
front wings everywhere in Sector 1. I saw off the start a little bit of contact between Sid and Brian Hackeman, and then I think Hackeman lost his front wing maybe on that, or at least damaged it, and then Sid maybe lost it a little bit later on, so we'll see some guys dive in now. The carnage has started already.
And the big winner, Domin, man, had a great start. He's up in a P3, and we've said it before, he has something to prove this race, and he's looking to prove it. Our big winner so far, the Mercedes, Connor's up 9 positions, Snoop Francis up 6 positions, and so, you know, Toto Rivas, I guess that work in the sim did wonders. As they're about to start racing, I would assume relatively soon.
Yeah, the later that VSC stays out, though, the better for the gentlemen that have to pit. But yeah, you know, it looks like both Mercedes drivers just kind of kept their noses clean, and that was the name of the game. Actually, I was able to secure P10 last night just because I kind of stayed out of trouble, which was kind of almost the name of the game here. But you know, Sid, unfortunately, big loser so far, -7. Hackeman at 6 down, Mr. Robot 6 down.
Sorry for interrupting, Buffalo, but Dom gets a way better exit coming out of that final turn than Pylon, and he gets ahead of Pylon coming into turn 1, and he's right on Ranger's tail. And he's going for a move on Ranger, and it's these conditions. Ranger's on the inters. Dom is in P1 right now. A little bit of contact between the two, but Dom is on the wets, and he's in P1 right now.
Wow. Wouldn't it be something if he can keep a pace like this throughout some of the race? But great driving, great wet weather driving by Dom. You can't call it anything else but that.
You know, he's putting on a showcase in these first 2 laps, showing he does belong here. And he's pulling a gap. He's already 1.5 seconds ahead of P1, 2 seconds ahead of Ranger. And Prison Mike P3, Pylon P4, Zebra P5, Prison Mike back into P2 now, so Ranger is experiencing issues.
You know, I wonder if this is a tire choice thing, OG. Ranger and Pylon losing pace, and Dom and Prison Mike there now at the 1-2.
I believe it is, yeah. The tire choice, you know, those 2 on the wets, they soared past the 2 on the inters. Razor as well as on the inters. And those wet tire drivers are doing great so far. Dom is pulling a 3-second gap to the rest of the field.
Wow.
As there's another incident there in the back, and that's Trip. Case of the Trips early in this race. But we're back. He's ready to go. Maybe some front wing damage. He does have a drive-through as well. Keep that in mind. Got early off the start. But
yeah, so the wet tire runners certainly looking a little bit stronger so far early on, and I wonder if Zebra's going to start to make a move here on Ranger.
And Ranger and Zebra battling it out into turn 1. Zebra Strike gets it. Raz puts it fastest lap to a 1-1. So they're just battling it out right now.
Yeah, the front end of the field is definitely starting to extend. 2.5-second gap between Prison Mike and Dom. Zebra's 4 seconds back, although I expect that to decrease slightly as he gets some kind of clean track going on the full wets. But, wow, yeah, this tire choice could have a really, really big impact on the standings.
Yeah, Pylon defending for his life right now against Connor. Looked like Connor had an opportunity to make it past him. So both McLarens are fighting a different Mercedes right now, as Razor and Snoop are fighting as well. Pylon and Connor. And it looks like, oh, Snoop maybe experienced a little bit of spray right there, threw him off balance, but you know, they're right behind each other. I fully expect them to make a move. As Raz up into P8 right now, and Raz is looking to overtake Razor as well. So Snoop is ghosted. That allowed Raz drive right through him and past Razor, and Connor as well got past. Oh, they're fighting up there as Connor as well is ghosted. So both Mercedes, I don't know what's going on. maybe if we can get Toto Rivas potentially back on the line and give us an update on his 2 drivers. We don't know what's going on with him right now, but Connor, the ghost of Connor, has gotten past Pylon, and now the man of Raz is coming for Pylon. And the gap between P1 and 2 has shrunk just a little bit as Prison Mike is hunting down Dom, who's in P1 right now.
Zebra has built a
And there's a safety
almost
car.
7. Well, there will go that gap. But at the time, Zebra had about a 6, almost 7-second gap on Ranger. This safety car is going to be crucial. Was it a Ferrari at the back or a Haas or?
If we look, let's see, does Mr. Robot have his front wing? Mr. Robot appears to have his front wing. Does Brian Hackman does not have his front wing. So, yep, Ferrari at the back.
No one DNF'd, so much as just shot in the middle of the track, and they had to call full-on safety car for that, or unless I'm missing it.
I don't. It had to have just been in a really compromising position. You know, you drive over someone else's wing, maybe you get a puncture,
Yeah.
causes more incidents. But I'm surprised that it's a full safety car as opposed to just a virtual safety car. But we did have one in the beginning as he hits the wall again. Add insult to the injury.
So this is going to put Dom in an interesting position, right? We saw, twice already that he's been really good on restarts, right? Well, of course, the start of the race, and then after the VSC, he was able to go up about 2 places.
Mm-hmm.
So does this, maybe this helps the gap a little bit, because Prison Mike was gaining on him pretty quick, but what a great performance from Dom so far tonight.
Yeah, he's looking great tonight, but he's going to have another great restart right here to defend from Prison Mike. Prison Mike is a great driver. Zebra Strike as well. Yeah, so those top 3 are going to be gunning for him, and I really don't know how he's going to respond to it.
Now, if you're a Ranger, are you going in here, or do you go with your gut and think that inters are going to be better later on, right? The current gap is 7.5 seconds. So, of course, that's different in a safety car. So actually, the gap doesn't really matter. But he was losing considerable time to the top 3, and now you have the ghost of Connor behind him, who, all of a sudden, he's going past the pit entry. He's going to stick with the others.
And I was going to say, I personally would have pitted. Again, this is the Drivers' Championship leader, so he knows what he's doing way more than I do. I personally would have pitted there. I'm losing so much pace to guys I shouldn't be losing pace to on this tire set. But, they may have intel we don't. Is the rain slowing down? Is it becoming a little bit drier? We really don't know. And so it may be a call for the future. Suffer right now, prosper later. I don't know what the call will be.
Looks like in about 15 minutes I'm getting some intel that it may lighten up a little bit, but that's a lot of race in between now and then. And, it could be multiple safety. We've seen a VSC and now a full one here, and we're 5 laps in.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the strategy call, what they're thinking it will be. But, this safety car bringing everyone together. And if you look at the track right now, everyone is extremely spaced out. Got a lot of people diving into the pits. And if you look, people are all switching to the enders, so the track is drying up considerably. So the top 3, who looked like they were having a great start so far, and they did, may be caught, with their pants down. If they're all 3 on wets, the rest of the grid all diving onto inters.
Yeah, we need to get access to some team radio here, because I'm sure they were having very similar conversations to us with some better intelligence. So I'm not sure if this safety car is going to come in this lap, but if it doesn't, curious to see what these top 3 do. You almost have to come in.
I mean, you do. If it's a tough call to make, especially if you're not normally in that position. As Dom, he had a fantastic start. He's not normally in P1 position, And they do dive into the pits right there, all three of them. And so Ranger takes lead of the Grand Prix, followed by Pilot, followed by Razor. So all things, it appeared after that chaotic start, after an amazing start, things have leveled out, and the normal is back, which is, you know, I'd say it's unfortunate, but we will get to see some great racing once again. But you know, those top three that normally aren't there, unfortunately, had to back out.
It's almost like these guys know what they're doing, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you see the top team and the McLarens both starting on inters, and we're like, man, they're both even on the same one, and that's not the most popular strategy. And then we look at Ranger, who's like, we think he's losing pace, and he's just a step ahead of everybody.
And so Dom still in the top 10. They came out 10 or 9, 10, 11, so they didn't lose too much space, but you got to wonder where they could have ended up if they had pitted, you know, the lap before that. But you know, not a total loss. They're still in the top 10. And the top 3 are on 5-lap older intermediates than everybody else. Everyone else is on fresh inters, except for the top 3 who are on, or top 4 now, are on 5-lap old intermediates.
I wonder if this will accelerate the weather timeline as well, right? We saw, you know, at the race start, we had intel that it may get drier towards the end, but the light rain has kind of come a little bit ahead of schedule. So chances are now we may see some dry tire action towards the last few laps, not earlier.
Yeah, and yeah, what is this? This is the first real safety car, second virtual safety car. No one's out of the session yet, so the numbers haven't dwindled, which means there's still equal opportunity for a safety car with that many people on track, and they're all going to be bunched up once again. And I think, especially if we have another safety car, then I think for sure we'll see what you've been hearing, that the dry weather will come, and we may see some interesting strategies from that.
Looks like we may see one more lap of the safety car. Seems like a long one. Ooh, as Ranger almost loses it coming out of that last corner.
Yeah, still, you know, even though the rain is lightened up just a little bit, it's still super dangerous. Easy to lose it at any moment, especially if the rain is too light. It is easy for tires to overheat, and you know that can cause spinouts as well. But I think you're right. I think we got one more lap under safety car. Marino is in the back. He's still pretty far behind, like half a lap. But
yeah, I don't know if these guys are all going to get bunched up, but you know, I see Cole reaching up to the, or sorry, no, that's Ethan Patel reaching up to the end of the pack, and then Sid may get to the tail end of it before the safety car comes in.
yeah, I don't know if Marino will make it. Of course, last night in the D3 race, I can't remember who it was, but they were just left out during the safety car. Safety car came in, and there was just one person out there that was behind the pack. So that may be the case here. I really don't know. As they're coming up to the end of Sector 2, the start of Sector 3. Still under safety car. Safety car is in this lap, so we're about to go racing. Won't get as bunched up, but for the most part, everyone's there.
No, the more safety car laps, the better for the top 4, right? If they want to stretch those inters towards maybe the tail end of that race where they can use dry tires, or even to the end, the more laps here, the better for them.
More laps better indeed. So we're coming in, you know, they're going to let the safety car pull into the pits. Ranger's going to slow down the pack. And I'm really, really interested to see what McLaren can do off this restart. Maybe they can box Ranger in. As there's contact between Zebra and Prison Mike. And they're going racing. You know, Ranger had a great start. Pylon, you know, he's right behind him. Razor did not have a fantastic start. He's 1 second behind them already. As Raz is out of the session, there's tons of position changes right now.
Carnage
Dom
at
is
the
up
end
to-
of the. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned Carnage. What was going on right there?
Well, Raz out. I saw some damage. It looked like Dom started like kind of a stop and go, hit Prison Mike's wing and hit someone else's wing as well. And we see guys coming in for tries.
Yeah, Ethan Patel is on the softs right now. Dom is on the mediums. Connor's on the mediums. Sid on the mediums. Zebra Strike on the mediums. People are switching to softs. And, wow. So, you know, it came a lot earlier than you predicted. And I wasn't even sure if it was going to come at all. You were holding out hope for it. You said it was going to come. And they're putting on the softs right now. Prison Mike on the hards. Wow.
Yeah, he may struggle a little bit to find grip, and I wonder if he's thinking he can maybe make it to the end if the rain stops, but right now it's not. I see Zebra slipping and sliding a little bit, and Connor is the highest up the field with dry tires, and of course he's ghosted, right?
Yeah, well, what is
Yep.
it? We still don't know what that's about just yet. As Josh Barnsley almost hits the wall, just loses it. And Snoop Francis, the other ghost of Mercedes, gets in front of him. So the simulator must have gave him some supernatural powers, as they are not there, really.
So Ethan Patel is on soft, so he's the first, I guess, kind of actual driver here, right, on the dries. And it looks like the grip is okay. I mean, it's not great, but I would be surprised if he didn't put up the fastest lap here on the softs.
And we'll see what kind of lap he puts on this next lap, his first real lap. But Ranger just put up, what was that, a 155?
Yeah.
And so that's the competition. But I'm looking at the track right now. There's tons of dry lines, tons of dry spots. And so, and a lot of people are pitting again. So we will see more
wondering if they made it
strategy.
too soon. Ethan Patel didn't. He must have spun out. I misread the time there, or he did not do the fastest lap. But he's continuing here on softs.
And Rangers 1 second ahead of Pylon. And so they're just fighting for P1 and P2 right now. Is anyone close? Alex is relatively close to Dom, if we'll hop on him. Of course, Dom, they're both on the fresh mediums. And we got two drivers on the hards, and Prison Mike and Cole. And I don't know about the hards. You know, even if they can't go to the end, they will be super, super cold in these conditions. You'll get barely any grip, I feel like, but
Yeah. What's interesting here is now you have the alphas bunched up, so if they can kind of maybe strategize a little bit, they went ahead of the game on the dries, right? See, Prison Mike just let Sid through.
Yep. And we'll see what Sid can do against Cole, who's on the hards. And it looks like Cole's struggling just a little bit, at least through the second sector. And Sid goes to the inside. Does he have the grip? Not there at the beginning. As Ranger puts up another fastest lap. Sid looked at it. He goes around and gets it. Cole just doesn't have the traction with those hards. Pylon switching onto the mediums, and I think that's the sign that it's dry time. You know, those front runners, Josh Barnsley as well, switching onto the mediums. And so yeah,
Still showing
Connor on the
light rain
mediums,
in.
Ethan Patel 153 on those softs.
There it is. I was one lap too early on calling Ethan Patel as fastest lap, but it does look like the grip is getting better. Telemetry still shows light rain, but these guys are getting the grip on the dry tires.
And as it dries up more and more, I think the tire to be on personally is the mediums, but with the rain, the temperatures are lower, so I'm wondering if those softs can go a lot longer than they would normally, and so that may also be the tire. But if I was the person pitting, I would have pit onto the mediums. But those guys in the hards, I just don't know if the hards will make it.
Yeah, maybe Ethan Patel is looking to go soft medium to the end, right? See if he can get his softs to like, I don't know, 15, 16, and then medium for the rest.
Yeah.
But the track does look like it's drying out nicely.
So Ethan, he's on 1 lap old softs. He's gonna have to do, about 6 or 7 more laps, and then he'll be able to switch on to the mediums. Especially if there's another safety car, which is likely. We still have 17 drivers in. Only Raz is out right now. And so it's super likely. And is Connor? Connor is still a ghost following Pylon.
Ranger's in.
And
Ranger's
Pylon
in.
is coming in fast. Pylon will be, it'll be close. I can't tell who is going to be the leader coming out of the pits. It looks like it's going to be Pylon, but it'll be close. He's just coming through. Connor goes 151, and Ranger loses a couple positions there. He's coming out into P4, P5 actually. So Pylon made the right call. They're going 148, so their time's dropping. The track is dry. There's not even rain falling down anymore.
Looks like Sid just put up the fastest lap on mediums, a 148. I'll be on the lookout for his charge up the field. He may be looking to do a medium soft.
Yeah, I don't know what Sid's gonna go as. Marino, representing Division 3 right there, puts up the fastest lap, 147. So as the track dries and dries, those times are gonna keep dropping like a lot. As I think there's desync. Oh, it's Rangers out. Rangers out of the session. Your Division 2 championship leader is out of the session. I was on board with Josh Barnsley, who was right behind him when it happened, and he just disappeared. It was like Thanos snapped his fingers and he was gone. I don't know what happened. I have zero idea. If you have any intel from the
out of there.
do you have any intel from the paddock?
It's looking like it may be a connection game type of thing, but yeah, there's the paddock is kind of going nuts right now. Based on the different tire strategies and now Ranger out, so the door is open for something to happen here, right? And we said Pylon sitting in P5 had an outside chance. Well, now he has a real chance. So
and Razor as well. Razor, if he gets to P14, Razor will tie his Ranger, and he has the tiebreaker. So Razor and Pylon, I don't know exactly what's going to go on here. I think it will be a race to the end, race to the finish, to decide who is the driver's champion.
I'm not sure what we're going to do about Toto Rivas' boys who are ghosted here, but they're sitting in 2 and 3, and that's going to have championship implications, of course, right? So, curious to see what kind of comes out of that. I wonder if Josh will have a time passing these guys on the restart or not. But we'll see. And Dom, again, continuing his great night, is stuck his way back up to P5.
So as it stands currently, with Razor in P7 and Pylon in P1, Pylon would be behind Razor by 2 points in the championship. So as it stands right now, Razor is your championship leader, assuming he finishes the race. Ranger obviously still the leader, but Razor will have to cut through the field like a Razor does And if he does that, it's guaranteed.
We talked about how McLaren has probably been the best in this division at playing the team game. What do you think is going on that team radio right now? Because if I'm Pylon, I have the Drivers' Championship in my sights. I'm looking at it and I want it, right? But if I'm Razor, I'm sitting in 2, right, in the driver's standings, and at P7, and I have a higher chance of getting it. So I wonder what those conversations are like right now.
I really don't know. You know, there may be some words that aren't being spoken. Pylon in his head's thinking, you know, I hope Sid and Zebra can overtake you, Razor. But he's not saying that out loud, of course. But if they do that,
Exactly.
then you know, they'll be tied on points going into it. And, of course, Pylon with the win will be able to secure it. And so anything can happen here. Yeah, super interesting. Now that Ranger's out of the race, super unfortunate. He was dominated qualifying, and was looking like really good after he got onto those, after the first initial guys pitted, and then of course once they switched to the softs, we just really didn't get to see what his pace was like on the dry tires. But just a bizarre scenario how that all turned out.
I'm on board with Ranger now, and just super unfortunate. Literally looks like going into that turn, his game froze and his car went into the wall. It looked totally out of his control, and because of that, his championship is in danger. That's got to be extremely frustrating. I can't imagine being in that position.
That's ridiculous. I've also gotten a report from Toto Rivas that after their work with the simulator, Snoop his pass isn't working. He's no longer allowed in the paddock, and so they just won't let him drive the car. It's just out there doing laps by himself. And Connor, we have no idea on the status of Connor. He's just MIA right now, maybe partying it up in Singapore. But you know, I do wonder. Those guys are sitting in 2 and 3. I wonder what will happen if they stay there, if they stay in the top 10 at all, if their laps will count, if their positions will count.
Yeah, well, cannon fodder for the rest of the, the racers here. They'll get some DRS going up. I don't think drivers like the likes of Josh or Razor or Sid are eventually going to have trouble passing these guys at the AI that they're at. And certainly they're not going to cause any crashes. But Ranger noticeably disappointed. Just
completely
on the video,
understandably.
Totally out of his control. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, super. That's just ridiculous, and you hate to see a championship won or lost like that. You know, you always want these things to be settled on track, and you know that's just unbelievable. As they go green, they're racing again. Pylon, he's got a lot of people behind him, like a lot of gaps behind him with those 2 AI cars, essentially not necessarily back markers, but you did mention they don't necessarily have the pace as a lot of these guys on track. So he's got a lot of space between the next guy, which is Josh Barnsley. And if we look, Dom is back up into P5. So
yep, Dom back up into P5. It looks like there was a yellow in the back. Is that an AlphaTauri and an Aston Martin down there?
That appeared to be the Aston Martin has no wing. Alex has no wing. Drip is in the pits. He's going on the hards. He's going to go to the end. And so super chaotic race. You know, only 2 people have retired, but it feels like we've just had safety car after safety car.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, there's been no shortage of action here as far as cars breaking apart, despite the lack of DNFs.
As Marino makes a great move on a Cole, and just once again showing the faults of those hard tires. Cole's sticking with it, but Marino just outclassing him on those hard or on those mediums.
Yeah, the one thing that Cole can kind of rest on is that he should be able to go to the end of the race. So I don't think these medium runners are going to be able to. So he may be able to pick up some spot that way. But yeah, he's losing pace here. How is Prison Mike faring in those hards? It looks like he may be trying to get by Mr. Robot, unless Mr. Robot just passed him.
And you got to keep in mind, those people on the softs, Ethan Patel has already pitted onto the mediums, so he's going to probably try to go to the end. Those people on the softs die super fast, And Razor up to P6, trying to get past Dom, who's hunting down the the Mercedes Ghosts.
Yeah, a little bit of a DRS train starting. Josh, of course, already passed both of the Mercedes, but the Mercedes are now kind of leading a DRS change, and Dom, Razor, Sid, Zebra, all in the midst of it.
As Razor took a peek at a potential move on Dom,
Ooh.
didn't do it, but definitely took a little peek at it. And Sid is right behind them as well.
I was on with Sid, and he almost tried to go for a move on Razor, thought a little bit better of it. He'll try to get a little bit closer here, or maybe to one of the longer DRS zones. But, you know, Sid is fighting for contention too. Sid is currently 9 points back of Razor for the Drivers' Championship. And, you know, he's saying, hey, don't forget about me. I'm in a position to win this thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a shot as well. As there's contact, there's a Red Bull, and I couldn't see the other car, but I think it was Ethan Patel, maybe a Alpine. There's definitely contact right there. It seems like they were pinned in the wall. Bizarre.
So Zebra Strike just hit Ethan Patel, but no damage that I can see.
Super
I take that back. No, wing damage for both.
Wing damage for both. Yep. And that's just frustrating. But this, I mean, you're boxed in. It's just a street circuit. Those walls are super tight. DRS is enabled this lap. We'll see what they can do with it. You know, Razor got super close to Dom. As Dom spins out, Dom is out. He's not out of the race. That's where I crashed out of the race right there. Lap 1 last time. The same AlphaTauri in a great position does it once more in the Division 2 race. He's in P7 now. But wow, that is just incredibly unfortunate. That gave, you know, Razor and Sid a free space. Wow. So Razor up to P4.
He saved it. He saved it. That could have been a lot worse. And if he finishes, he still could fare higher than P7, but disappointing for sure.
Especially after such a great qualifying, such a great race so far, up into P, what would have been 3 in a moment, as he would have easily gotten past New Francis. But that's just unfortunate.
It is, but, you know, let's talk about that save there, though, because, you know, realistically, Razor and Sid probably had more pace than Dom, but the Mercedes probably not. So if he was sitting in P5, you could make the case that he's ready to pass the Mercedes before the end of the race, and he could still regain P5 if he keeps on form. So all is not lost for the AlphaTauri.
With that being said, though, Brian Hackman is right behind him, looking to strike. You know, Dom's tires, after a spin like that, will most likely be cooked, especially at a hot track like this. And so hope is not lost yet, but it is kind of it is looking kind of dark. He will finish strong, but got to fend off Brian Hackman right now. And while all that was going on, Pylon has put up a 6-second gap to Josh Barnsley in P2, and Razor has DRS on Josh.
Razor has DRS on Josh, and Sid closing the gap to Razor.
And so they're just going to be... So this top 3, you know, your top, like, 3 of your top 5 in the Drivers' Champions going to be battling it out for the win in the final race. That's just awesome.
You know, it is. I expect some elbows to be out here towards the end. I mean, especially like, you know, with Pylon and Razor so close together, Razor's probably got the edge in championship points. But if I'm Sid, I mean, I'm sticking my elbows out and fighting for every point. I mean, this is it, and he's got a shot.
And yeah, you mentioned those elbows are out, especially between Razor and Sid. And you gotta think, you know, if you're Pylon, you gotta wonder if Pylon's thinking, you know, I hope those elbows are out a little too wide. Maybe Razor and Sid take each other out so he can get that championship. I don't know.
Then he's in, yeah.
But he's still got a 7.5-second gap. You know, Razor and Sid, they chased down Josh relatively quickly, but...
Yeah, the DRS train is there, right? The 3 of them, they're all within range.
Yeah, they're within range. They may be able to make a move here. Oh, as Josh hits the wall, Another person in contention to being overtaken once again. Dom, as Josh goes way too wide. Razor goes to the inside. And he's going to make the move on Josh Barnsley going into turn 1. He makes it stick. So he puts a car between him and Sid. And that just gives him extra room to race in a little bit of clean air and chase down that 8-second gap. As Josh is struggling right now, Sid's going to pass him with DRS. As long as they don't squeeze each other out, hit each other into the wall. As Josh Barnsley tucks behind. And they level out. So Pylon P1, Razor P2, Sid P3. Wow.
It's looking like right now, OG, the top 3 in the race right now are essentially the last 3 in contention for the Drivers' Championship, the way it stands now. So, man, these 3, I think that gap between Pylon and Razor may start to close now that Razor has some clean air. And, man, this is going to be just a hell of a battle.
And, you know, Tamima, I think his tires have, you know, leveled out so far, but Marino is right on his tail. But, you know, he's been on his tail for a while. Dom is a pretty good defensive driver, but we're going to see how it turns out for him. This is the closest battle on track right now. Marino is 3/10 behind Dom, and Dom's, you know, clawing his way back, trying to get past Brian again, but definitely trying to get past those Mercedes. Maybe get into P5 or P6.
Yeah, Marino closing in on Dom, just like you were saying, but he's also got 13 seconds of penalties as well. So I'm not sure how. I mean, you gotta make up
As
a lot of
Dom
time.
dives into the pits here,
places.
you know, so I
Josh
don't think
in
he
too.
pitted early. So Josh in as well. I don't think they pitted early. I think they pitted around the right time. But it'll be interesting to see when the rest of them pit.
Looks like Josh needed a new front wing as well, so that'll be some valuable time that he'll have to make up.
Yeah, which it puts him just ahead of Dom, but, you know, he would have been, what was it, like 15 seconds clear of him? 10 seconds clear of him?
Yeah, he could have been, yeah. The front wing change adds, what, about 7 seconds?
Yeah, 7 to 8 seconds. And, well, and that's just counting just the change. You know, they got to lift it. All sorts of random nonsense. So, as Brian Hackman coming into the Ghost of Mercedes, he's looking to get into P4 right here, and he very well may be able to within this lap. He has DRS on Connor, who we said may be out clubbing right now. And he's coming up to Snoop Francis, who just was not allowed back into the paddock. Now, if you're Buffalo, if you're a driver and you see these two have been ghosted this entire race, potentially taking away precious points for you, are you frustrated that those two cars are on track right now?
You know, a little bit, but at the same time, if they weren't on track, Brian Hackman wouldn't be getting DRS right now, right? And it's not like there's a solid car there to help them from passing. He can still run his exact same race. He's probably going to pass them. And, you know, when you're driving at this level, I don't know what AI these ghost cars are at, but I don't think they're worried about getting in front of them pace-wise. I think, you know what I mean? So I think really they're kind of taking the free DRS, going through it, and running their race. At least if I had that pace, that's kind of how I would do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the DRS. You know, it's just helping Brian pull along and build a bigger gap to those behind him, which right now is Marino. And Dom now has the second ghost, Connor, in his sights. And Sid, you know, out of DRS range of Razor and losing just a little bit of time through Sector 2.
Yeah, his tires are a little bit older too, about 3 laps older. So I'm not sure when he's thinking about coming in, if he's going to try the undercut on these McLarens and try to get some there, but still got a lot of time to make up to someone like Pylon if he's eyeing to win.
Yeah, I gotta wonder when the rest of these guys are gonna pit as well. Yeah, because Sid is on 11-lap old tires. The length is normally about 13, 14 laps, but you know, of course, the track wasn't 100% dry. It wasn't as hot as it normally is, so you know, I'm sure that preserved a little bit of life in him. So maybe you can extend him maybe to 15 laps, but I don't know what the pit strategy is going to be. If anyone's going to go onto the softs, try to stretch to where they can go onto the softs, or what.
Josh here behind Ethan Patel has set a purple sector 1 and a purple sector 2. So we'll see if he can get by him, and he's on fresher tires as well. So if he's got the pace, then that bodes well for the rest of the race.
Yeah,
He goes purple.
He doesn't, but he does drop a second and a half off his previous fastest lap. So definite
So it looks like he lost some time. Yeah, sorry, lost the time in sector 3, but that could have been because of Ethan Patel in front of him. So.
And he has the DRS on him. Is he going to be able to make the move? He backs off just a tiny bit, but he's going to go up the inside. And Ethan, you know, he stays strong, holds his line. And Ethan holds on for the position for now. There is still another opportunity right here, but it's super dangerous. And he needs to get a better exit. He takes a peek at it, but he didn't go for it.
Ethan got the better exit a few corners back, and that kind of set the scene for this whole sector. Josh will have to wait a little bit before he makes another move. He's got DRS.
You know, he's thinking
Back
about
off.
thinking about it every single time, but hasn't done it just yet.
While we watch this battle here between Ethan Patel and Josh, Prison Mike and Marino have snuck up to 5 and 6. Now, Marino will have to pit again, but Prison Mike on 13-lap old hards, he could entertain staying out there for the rest of the race. And, you know, once the top runners come in, he could find himself in P1 for a short while.
Just not enough space on that straight for the DRS to truly help him right there. Got a little bit closer, but this is the spot. This is the DRS zone for Josh to get Ethan. Needs a better exit right here. Doesn't get the better exit, but he does get the DRS. Burns a tiny bit of battery. Ethan pushes him out just a little bit wide. Is Ethan going to brake late again? And he does. He goes around the outside, saves his position once again. Is there going to be a little bit of a switchback? No, Ethan holds on, has better traction out of that corner right there. Ethan's still going ahead. This corner will determine it again. No, Josh can't get it through this sector. He's stuck behind Ethan right now on fresher tires.
Not only is Ethan driving great defensively, but he's getting a better exit out of some of these corners. And, you know, there's not a big long straight where you can let the DRS make the pass for you really on Singapore, right? You need to get a better exit, and you need to use battery to make these passes stick. And Josh hasn't been able to make it stick yet.
He just hasn't been able to make it stick. But he's got a lot of laps left to do it. But Ethan has been driving incredibly defensively so far. You got to think maybe if these guys hold each other up just a little bit, you know, they're fighting back and forth. If Dom can sneak, as he gets a 3-second time penalty, but if he can sneak up right behind them.
Yeah, I wonder if he can. You know, if I'm Josh, I don't know if I use battery as much as I am right now. I mean, look, he's a lot more experienced and, you know, proven of a driver than I am. But, you know, unless I really have the pass in the bag, unless I can cement that better exit, I might just farm it.
Yeah, farm it for a couple laps and then just drain it all. He's going to go once again the inside, and he gets his elbows out just a little bit.
Ooh.
Ethan still up the inside. Ethan's holding on. Great driving wheel to wheel.
Wow.
Josh gets a better exit finally out of that turn, but Ethan's going out. Ethan, so he's He's on the outside. They're coming in a super, super tight turn. Josh backs out. Josh had the
Wow.
position. He was half a car length ahead. Ethan's front left was just right in the middle of his car, and he backed out. Ethan still ahead on lap 23 after about 4 or 5 laps of battling. And being on the defensive, Ethan is still ahead.
What a top tier battle right now. This is two
And Josh goes up.
experienced drivers.
Oh, you know, they're totally experienced. They're just amazing.
Wow, crazy defensive driving by Ian Patel. They're on slightly older tire. I mean, they both got great pace. And Dom has now snuck into DRS range.
Yup.
So Dom enters the fray.
And I mentioned it earlier, I don't know Dom's setup, but I know he does wacky stuff, so he may have some extra oomph on the straightaways, and he may be able to, I don't know, maybe he gets past one or both of them. I really have no idea. He does have those penalties as Josh Barnes goes way wide,
Ooh.
and that'll cost him through this next section, and Ethan should be able to hold on for another lap.
As we watch some of these midfield battles, it looks like the top three are starting to kind of spread themselves out a little bit. Razor with, behind Pylon now about 9.5 seconds. Sid now 2.5. Brian Hackman down by like 7. So the top field is straightening themselves out. Is something's been out?
Was it Zebra Strike or
May have
Drip?
been Drip
Drip
in
again.
Sector 2.
Not a great day for Drip, but his teammates having a hell of a battle. They're gonna come up on him. He's about to be lapped, but yeah, Dom is within, as he touches the wall a little bit, within range, DRS range of the other two. And they're just battling it out right now.
This is great for a driver like Dom because he can stay within range while they battle and keep pace with these big guys who are, let's say, maybe a little bit more used to being up front, but allows him to kind of stick with them. Because don't forget, as Sid comes in and pits for softs, right? The leaders, now the top four, Pylon, Razor, Brian Hackman, and Marino, they got to pit again. Prison Mike may be able to go on the end with the hards, and those guys, remember, they were struggling on pace before. Now they see themselves in 5th and 6th. Talking about Prison Mike and Cole.
Josh Marsley took a peek down into turn 1. And yet, you wonder, you got 6 laps to go. Do you think those top 4 medium runners could make it to the end?
Maybe. Is it too late now, OG? Is it too late to pit?
I don't know. These guys are, as Josh had to weave crazy out of the way. Ethan kind of squeezed him right there, but not, really no ill driving at all. Still great driving. A little bit of, I will say miscommunication, I would say, but Josh
could be
gets a better exit right here. This will define it. Is he going to back out once again? He doesn't. He goes for it. He just didn't have the position. But I think he's got his legs. He's got his sea legs. He's got his confidence. He backed out of that 2 laps earlier when he had the position. He's not scared to back out anymore.
He's going to try to use his battery here. Can he make it stick?
As they contact, and Dom just comes into the inside and just hits Ethan on the side. I wonder if there's going to be wing damage. Josh Barnsley takes the lead of those 3. Dom right behind him, and Ethan Patel, who was leading those 3 for so long, comes out on the losing end of all 3 of them.
No damage on there as far as I can see, but we have action up front. Looks like Razor has come in to pit for softs.
So Razor's pitted.
He's going to come out behind Sid.
He does.
Wow.
So
Yellow in
Sid,
Sector 2, looks like Drip is out.
Another safety car. Wow. Wow.
Is Pylon in a position where he can get in now?
Yeah.
And maybe not lose too much time.
If I'm Pylon, I'm pitting for new softs the second I get
You
in
have
there.
to. I think, because I think Pylon has the gap. He can, he'll maybe come out behind Brian Hackman, but he should come out ahead of Marino
Well,
based on where the gaps are now.
both those guys should come into the pits as well. The only questionable one is Prison Mike and Cole. I personally would still pit onto the softs, but those are old hards.
It's hard because you think old hards, right? I mean, you're gonna have Sid coming up real quick, unless Prison Mike wants to stay up there for team strategic purposes to put Sid in the best position. Maybe he can play a little defense and help drag Sid up.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring it up, but I don't know, because on those fresh softs, Sid's gonna have such a better restart than both Prison Mike and Cole. Regardless, he may pass him on the first straight, and so as Pylon does pit onto the fresh softs, and he stays in the lead critically.
Hackman pitted as well, and Marino. So Pylon will stay up front.
Pylon in the lead. Sid
Here's
P6. Prison Mike stays, Cole stays, Marino pits. And Sid is in P4 right now. Razor P5.
.22-point gap in the constructors between McLaren and Alfa Romeo. They're going to push.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting to see what happens. Prison Mike on 18 lap old tires. They are hards, but they're still super old.
I mean, there's not going to be many laps that he has got to hold people off with, but man, I think that trying to hold off a Razor on fresh softs when you're on 18 lap old hards, oof.
So if Sid can get into second place, that's 28 points for him. And he will be at 177 points. And if Razor gets into third place with that, it'll be plus 25 points for him, which will be 183 points.
So Prison Mike needs to defend like his life depends on it.
Yep.
And also has to hope that Razor has a hard time catching Cole, because I don't think Josh or Dom is going to be able to displace Razor in P5 on fresher, better tires. So it's got to, if Sid wants it to happen, it has to shake out in the top 5.
Yep. So right now, wow. Yeah, Cole is another wrench in all their plans. He's not a team member, so like Prison Mike and Sid are team members. They're communicating.
Right.
Cole's in the dark. No one knows what he's gonna do. And he's a good driver, and you just gotta wonder what's gonna happen on this restart.
They'll probably get one more lap, right? And then the safety car should come in with 2 laps to go. Well, no, I guess 3, right?
Yeah, 3 laps.
You got to finish the 29th.
Well, yeah, 3 laps to go, and then they'll go motor racing. It's called car racing,
it's called a motor race.
It's called a motor race.
We went motor racing.
They went motor racing. No, Mikey, no.
Something I just noticed, actually, in between Prison Mike and Pylon is Alex. And the reason why that's significant is because he may be able to give DRS to certain drivers that wouldn't normally be in a position to get DRS. So, who does that benefit there? Does that benefit, well, of course, Prison Mike directly, but can that impact the Sid and Razor battle?
See, here's what I think Alex is gonna do on the restart. I think he knows he's in a lion's den right now. He's got a bunch of alpha dogs surrounding him, fighting for the championship. And so, you know, he's a lapped car. And so I think right at the start, he's just going to pull away to the left. That's what I think. That's what I think he should do, at least.
Yeah.
Whether he
Yeah.
actually does that, I have no idea.
I hope Prison Mike kept those hard tires warm on this safety car, because this is going to be it.
It's hard to do. I'm going to be on board with Sid, who's going to be trying to get past the 2 hard runners.
I'll be on board here with Prison Mike. Alex just went into the pits, so he's not going to factor into the restart at all, as the safety car goes around one more time. So I take that back.
Which I mean,
Alex,
I don't get that call from the safety car either, but whatever.
yeah, I guess we'll have 2 more laps to go, but Alex does perhaps the right thing, pits for softs, and
Yeah.
then he'll be at the back of the train and do his thing there. But, you know, because we saw the safety car come in when everyone wasn't bunched earlier in the race. And now you would think they want as many laps of motor racing as they can at the end, and they let it stay out.
Yeah, especially because, you know, for the most part, I think there's 2 people that were a little far behind. I think it was Mr. Robot and Zebra Strike. They were just, you know, a couple seconds behind. They weren't half a track away like they were earlier, like the other drivers were earlier in the race. But, you know, they decided to keep it out. And I just don't get it with what will now be 2 laps to go. I just don't understand that call. But we will get 2 laps of racing, which is better than 1. So
Better than 1. And, man, it all comes down to this.
yes, it does. Pylon is your leader right now. He's on fresh softs. Right behind him is Prison Mike and Cole, who took a gamble on the strategy and are now on 20-lap-old hards. Follow suit is Sid and Razor, who are on relatively fresh softs. And they're looking to take those positions away from Prison and Cole, who have worked pretty hard this race. And those 2 positions have championship implications. If Pylon can win and those guys stay where they are, I think, don't quote me, but I think Sid wins. But if they get into the top 3, then Razor, if Pylon, Sid, and Razor are the top 3, then Razor will be your driver's champion.
They got to keep it clean, too. Oh, a little bump. Prison Mike bumped into the back of Pylon.
And that'll get contested and thrown away for Pylon. He doesn't deserve a penalty for that. As they go green, and Razor has a little bit, as there's chaos in the back, Razor has a little bit of a better exit than Sid, but he just doesn't have the length of the straightaway. But he will have another straight coming up. But Sid looking for it on Cole. Cole, I don't know if he lets him by, but it kind of looked like it. And so Razor is right behind Cole right now, trying to get past him. Is Cole going to hold on? He fights it, but Razor gets past him on the outside. So now
Looks
we
like
have...
Prison Mike is going to let Sid go through eventually.
And Sid's telling him defend like a lion. Is that drops of rain I see? Is it... I think there might be a tiny bit of rain, which could throw things for a loop there at the very end. It really, really hurts Prison Mike, who won't be able to defend for his teammate as much as he'd like to. Razor took a little bit of a peek. Prison Mike just doesn't have the grip right now. Prison Mike can't get over to defend Razor. He's letting them both by right now.
Really difficult position for the Alphas there, because Prison Mike wanted to defend for Sid so much, but in order to let Sid by, he automatically let Razor in. So we got a yellow in the back, but Pylon has built up a significant gap to Sid, so he's almost got this one in the bag, and Sid and Razor fighting for their lives.
And I'm curious, if Sid wins this race, because of course Pylon has How many seconds of penalties does Pylon have? Let's check.
Now that's the 5-second one that might be disputed,
I
right?
would assume it gets disputed. You know, someone ran into the back of him. So I don't know what the protocol is for us. Who do we crown as drivers champion? If Sid gets the win here, I don't know what we do.
Yeah, we'll have to see the replays of that. I was on board with Prison Mike at the time, and it looked like he may have rear-ended Pylon, but I don't know if he was pushed because you see Razor has a 5-second penalty himself. So, I'm not sure. Sid goes over a curb a little bit roughly here. Razor is hot on his tail.
And it is rough. The conditions, you know, started wet, and it's going to end wet. It's not going to be as
Wow.
wet as it started, but it definitely is